The Candy of Gentleness. In a house where the walls were filled with books and the air smelled of cinnamon, young Sammy sat on the rug. He looked up at his grandfather, Silas, who was humming a quiet tune. "Grandfather," Sammy asked, "what does it mean to be gentle? Is it just being quiet, or is it something more?" Silas smiled, his eyes twinkling like stars. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and shimmering. Silas held out a piece of candy. It wasn't round or square. It was shaped like a tiny, soft white feather. It glowed with a pale, pulley light. "This is the candy of gentleness, Sammy," Silas whispered. "To understand gentleness, you must see what the world looks like without it. Take a bite, and remember to hold the feather's softness in your heart." Sammy took a bite. Suddenly, the cinnamon scent vanished. The warm room dissolved into a mist of gray. Sammy felt himself spinning through the air, lighter than a dandelion seed. When his feet finally touched the ground, the world had changed. He was no longer at home. He was standing in the middle of a cold, metallic square. This was the city of cruelty. Everything was sharp and jagged. The buildings were made of black iron with spiked roofs that seemed to poke at the clouds. The sounds were even worse: metal clanging, sirens wailing, and the harsh screech of crows. Sammy shivered. There were no flowers here, only thorns and cold stone. Around a corner, Sammy saw a tall man named Roland. He was red-faced and towering over a small boy named Elian. Roland was shouting so loudly that the windows rattled. "You dropped the jar. You are clumsy and useless," he roared. Elian shook like a leaf, his head bowed low, tears trekking through the dust on his cheeks. Sammy wanted to help, but he was pulled away by a commotion across the street. A group of children was chasing a small, scruffy dog named Scruff. A girl named Mia was in the lead, holding a heavy stick. "Go away, you ugly thing," she yelled, swinging the stick toward the frightened animal. Scruff let out a high-pitched yelp and tried to hide behind a trash can. Then, another boy named Leo joined in. He didn't have a stick, but he picked up a heavy, jagged stone from the gutter. He aimed it at Scruff, who was trapped in a corner. Sammy's heart hurt to see the dog so scared. In this city, no one seemed to care about the feelings of others. Everything was a fight. Further down the road, a man named Axel was screaming at his car. The engine was smoking, and the car sat dead in the middle of the path. Instead of looking for a way to fix it, Axel was kicking the metal door with his heavy boots.
Bang! Clang!
Each kick left a deep dent, but the car remained broken and silent. Finally, Sammy saw a man named Thorn. Thorn was kneeling on the hard ground, his fingers hooked like claws. He was trying to rip out the only green thing in the whole city, a tiny, fragile sprout that had managed to grow through a crack in the iron. "Useless weed," Thorn hissed, pulling at the tender stem. "You don't belong in this strong city." Finally, Sammy saw a man named Thorn. Thorn was kneeling on the hard ground, his fingers hooked like claws. He was trying to rip out the only green thing in the whole city, a tiny, fragile sprout that had managed to grow through a crack in the iron. "Useless weed," Thorn hissed, pulling at the tender stem. "You don't belong in this strong city." As Sammy touched Thorn's hand, a warm glow began to radiate from his fingertips. A soft, white feather drifted from the sky, then another, and another. A gentle breeze, smelling of jasmine and honey, began to blow through the iron streets. Sammy felt a rush of peace flow out of him and into the ground. The transformation was incredible. The black iron buildings began to melt into soft, colorful bricks. The sharp spikes turned into rounded balconies filled with flowers. In the square, Roland stopped shouting. He looked down at Elian, his face softening. He reached out and gently wiped a tear from the boy's cheek before pulling him into a warm hug. Nearby, Mia dropped her stick. She looked at Scruff, the little dog, and felt a strange tug at her heart. She knelt down and held out her hand, palm up. Scruff wagged his tail cautiously and licked her fingers. Mia smiled, and for the first time, her face looked beautiful because it was kind. The city of cruelty was gone, replaced by the City of Gentleness. The air was full of soft music and laughter. Suddenly, the world began to spin again. Sammy felt the weight of the rug beneath him and the scent of cinnamon in his nose. He opened his eyes and saw his grandfather, Silas, watching him with a knowing smile. "I saw it, grandfather," Sammy whispered. "Gentleness isn't just being quiet. It's a power that changes things. It makes the hard things soft and the ugly things beautiful." Silas nodded and patted Sammy's head. "Exactly, my boy. Gentleness is the light of the soul, and when you carry it, you carry the power to heal the world."